I never expected my marriage to end in a chess match. Leah and I, well, the Leah I thought I knew, never played games. We were the couple who spent Saturday mornings hawk-watching at Hurricane Ridge, teasing each other about who could spot the first osprey. The pair who argued for 20 minutes about whether The Princess Bride should count as a Saturday night epic or a weeknight comfort film. I'd always believed honesty came as naturally to us as the cedar-scented air that drifted through our bungalow on Seaview Drive. Then autumn crept in with an edge. Not a hurricane, nothing cinematic, just a quiet shiver of small changes that left me wondering if I'd slipped into someone else's life while I slept. R1. The first sign was her phone. Leah used to abandon the thing the moment she crossed our threshold. "Digital leash off," she'd say, tossing it on the teak credenza before dancing barefoot into the kitchen to sample whatever scented roast I'd coaxed from the French press. Now the phone became a limb she wouldn't unclasp. Bathroom visits, laundry folds, even the 60-second trip to check whether the back porch light was attracting moths. She carried it everywhere, face down, thumb anchored to the screen as though the pixels might float away if she let go. I joked once, "Babe, did the NSA promote you without telling me?" Her laugh was a half-second late. "Clients keep emailing after hours." "All of them classified?" She shrugged. "It's a wild world." 2 days later, a passcode appeared, 6 digits she shielded with her body whenever the screen wakened. My stomach fluttered at the first bruise of distrust, but I chalked it up to late summer restlessness. We'd weathered worse. Her father's illness, my layoff from the Port Authority, the claustrophobia of pandemic lockdowns. This? A phase, surely. The cafe incident happened on an ordinary Wednesday, an ordinary that would burn itself into memory like cedar resin on a hot pan. Leah texted that she'd be grabbing coffee with Hannah from marketing after work. No problem. My errands, hardware store for paint swatches, the marine supply shop for bilge hose, placed me 2 blocks from Moonrise Cafe. I parked beneath gold-turning maple leaves expecting to slip inside and stage one of our corny surprise selfies. But Leah wasn't at any table. She was outside, pacing beneath the awning, phone pressed tight, rain misting her hair. I was far enough that her words blurred with traffic noise, yet 2 fragments cut clear as gull cries. "It's almost set. Starting fresh in October." A fresh start? With whom? Not me, evidently. I ducked before she could spot me and drove home on autopilot, humming the flat tone that passes for thinking when your brain refuses to shape a thought aloud. That night she told me Hannah's boyfriend had cheated, and they'd spent the whole hour dissecting red flags and self-respect. Her story was neat, symmetrical, and utterly wrong in tone, too scripted like a podcast summary. I nodded, said nothing, and lay awake until dawn. The money talk arrived 2 evenings later. I was buttering sourdough. Leah stood at the sink scrolling. "Have you ever considered consolidating our stuff?" she asked without looking up. "What kind of stuff?" "Accounts, passwords, maybe put deeds and investments in a shared folder, emergency readiness." It could have been sensible. Our finances were an untidy sprawl of checking here, index funds there, the deed to Dad's old fishing cabin tucked in my study safe. But her timing clangored. I pictured her whispering into that phone, syncing starting fresh with color-coded spreadsheets. Emergencies like house fire, zombie apocalypse. I tried for levity. She didn't laugh. Just life. Things happen. My chest tightened as if someone cinched a line around my ribs. I said I'd think about it, kissed her cheek, and tasted unease on my tongue. 4, I needed perspective. I rang Elise Morales, college roommate turned estate attorney, the one who once drafted my will in exchange for a year's supply of single-origin beans. Side note, how paranoid is it to lock down your finances because your spouse adds a phone passcode? I asked. She listened without interruption. When I finished, she inhaled like a diver surfacing. "Marcus, healthy marriages survive transparency. If you're wrong, you'll apologize. If you're right, do not wait." She sketched a plan. Form a revocable living trust. Shift any assets solely in my name. Inheritances, premarital investments, into that vehicle. Leave enough liquidity in joint checking to avoid alarm. Trailer everything through my older sister, Nora, the only person I'd trust with a nuclear code. The steps felt clinical, colder than November surf, yet a deeper dread insisted this wasn't betrayal. It was CPR on a heart that might soon stop. 5, the transfer marathon spanned 2 jittery nights. I brewed coffee past midnight and toggled between brokerage portals and digital signatures. Cabin deed, Dad's vintage Sea Ray boat, my municipal pension rollover, the emergency fund Leah never asked about. Each click felt like chiseling the ice wall rising between us. I left our joint account intact save for everyday float and a buffer for Leah's yoga membership, the equivalent of hush money to my conscience. When documents finalized, I stashed originals in Nora's fireproof safe and exhaled through trembling lips. The chessboard was reset. 6 weeks passed with unsettling sweetness. Leah laughed at my dumb puns again, wrapped her arms around me in the dairy aisle because mozzarella smells like first date pizza, and floated Sunday drive ideas to scout remote coastal hikes. But finance talk vanished, as if snipped from the script. Her cheerfulness tasted like frosting on spoiled cake. Friday night, the sky bruised violet. She muted the television, turned to me, and spoke almost gently. "I've been wrestling with this. I think we're holding each other back. I want a divorce." No tears, no raised pitch. She might have been canceling a streaming subscription. My throat tightened, yet a strange clarity settled. The pieces clicked. Coffee call, account inquiry, immaculate cheer. She'd already moved on, just needed the paperwork. I murmured, "If that's what you feel, we'll work it out." Her eyebrows flickered. Perhaps she'd expected a scene. But my cyclone had spun days earlier, and the eye was calm now. Monday, a courier delivered petitions that might as well have been ransom notes. Half the house, half the pension, the boat, spousal support. This despite Leah earning almost as much as I did at the Port Authority. The language dripped entitlement, compensation for sacrifices, equitable division reflecting lost opportunity. I set the packet down, heart pounding not with shock but with confirmation. She hadn't loved me for months. She'd loved the payout. Hash 7, who was the co-architect? The petition bore sophistication Leah wouldn't devise alone. I opened Instagram, scrolled her sparse feed, and found a pattern. Likes and cryptic encouragement from one Caleb Ryder, handle @Pacific Strategist, sun-bleached surfer grin, marketing consultant based in Bellingham. He'd commented, "Onward and upward," beneath Leah's watercolor sunset from 3 weeks prior, the night she'd worked late. I clicked deeper. Caleb's story archives showed latte art at Moonrise Cafe on the same Wednesday I'd watched Leah outside with her phone. Coincidence tasted bitter. I screenshotted, sent them to Elise, and asked, "Enough to subpoena phone records?" She replied, "Not yet, but keep digging." 8. My digging won a surprise ally. Trent Lawson, mutual friend and habitat restoration volunteer who'd lifted trail logs with me many Saturdays. He texted, "Hey man, can we grab a beer? Something you need to see." We met at Salty Dog Tap Room, his cheeks flushed crimson before the first sip. "Caleb's bragging," he said, tapping open a message thread forwarded from an acquaintance at Caleb's firm. Screen by screen, Caleb gushed, "She's primed. Once settlement's done, we list the house, split proceeds my way. Told her to push for spousal, easy when hubby's soft." Another, "We'll Airbnb the cabin once it's ours. She's worth the risk, promise." Every word gutted, but the autopsy was necessary. I filed the screenshots into a secure folder labeled Checkmate. 9 mediation day. Leah arrived in a charcoal pantsuit, hair swept into the assertive bun she'd practiced before job interviews. Caleb wasn't present, wise choice, but her attorney, a slick Vancouver import named Mercer, thumped a binder the thickness of a phone book onto the conference table. Mercer recited demands like bullet points in a hostile takeover. I studied Leah's face, a glaze of anticipation, the gambler who sees victory 2 cards away. Elise waited until Mercer exhaled. Then she slid across our own slim folder. "Before we discuss division, opposing counsel should review Exhibit A." Mercer skimmed page 1, transfer dates, signatures notarized weeks before filing, and his features drained to parchment. Leah leaned over, eyes darting. Page 2 enumerated the trust language. Irrevocable, beneficiary Nora Holt exclusively, disbursement deferred pending my sole discretion. Voice flat as foghorn, Mercer asked, "Is this legitimate?" "Recorded with county registrar," Elise said. "Statutory compliance checked thrice." Leah's jaw flexed. "You shifted everything behind my back?" I met her glare, a tide finally turning. "I safeguarded what's mine when trust went missing." Her next words were a whisper of fury. "You'll regret this. I already regret trusting you." Mercer requested a recess. In the hallway, Leah hissed, "This isn't over." I noticed her hand trembling, not with rage alone, but with the realization her blueprint had burned. 10. The unraveling traveled faster than wildfire upriver. First came voicemail storms, sobbing contrition followed by volcanic blame. I blocked her number per Elise's counsel. Next, rumors sprouted among friends. Leah told people the filing had been a relationship experiment. Another version claimed we were collaborating on a social commentary art project about divorce culture. The stories conflicted hourly. People aren't fools. The mud slicked back on her shoes. Trent, meanwhile, updated me on Caleb. The consultant's LinkedIn changed accepting opportunities in Denver 2 days after mediation. A disappearing act fitting for a man allergic to consequences. Without Caleb's applause, Leah attempted a final gambit. An emotional email to Nora, pleading for sisterly influence, swearing she'd been led astray, begging a midnight cabin meeting to talk face-to-face. Nora politely forwarded it to me, then replied, "Marcus handles his own decisions." 11. The decree finalized on a sunlit morning in May. Leah received her own retirement, whatever possessions she'd already ferried to her downtown loft, and the Prius in her name. She paid her own attorney's fees. Spousal support vanished like smoke. When Judge Romero banged the gavel, Leah didn't look up. I might have felt pity had the wounds been shallower. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled of lilac and salt. Elise shook my hand. "You played defense, not offense. Court's notice." "Still feels like we both lost," I said. "Loss teaches," she answered, "but some lessons bankrupt slower than others." 12. After the dust, silence, sweet humming, unfamiliar. I repainted the bungalow sea glass green with Mom's gleeful help. We hauled Leah's abandoned succulents to Goodwill, adopted a rescue mutt named Echo, who thinks couch cushions are continental drift, and spent evenings teaching him stay with broken treat bribes. I drove to Dad's cabin for the first solo weekend in years. The lake lay mirror-smooth under star lanterns. I paddled the old aluminum canoe to midwater, let it drift, and spoke aloud a promise to guard my circle with vigilance, but never let suspicion sour kindness. Echo thumped his tail against the hull, a dog's applause. Autumn returned, almost a year since Leah's phone sprouted its secret code. I passed Moonrise Cafe on a grocery run and glimpsed her through the window, alone, stirring tea. She looked smaller than memory, as though someone had folded her edges inward. I did not go inside. Our story had already shipped off in separate bottles. I wished her fair currents and kept walking toward the life ahead, mine, protected, yet open to the salt wind and the cedars sighing their evergreen prayer. Survive, then grow.